All right, so, hi Teri, thank you so much for talking to us about this project. As I explained, this is going to be an option for some of our colleagues to just hear from two of you who've been brave enough to already start doing this flipped classroom to some extent in your classes. So we're just hoping to learn from you a little bit about the pros, the cons, the successes, the challenges, that kind of stuff. So let's start with, why did you decide to try doing this, flipping the classroom?
I'm using the flipped classroom with AP Calculus, mainly because I feel like we have not had enough class time for that level of a course. And that sometimes when we are trying to do a lesson in class, students do have a lot of questions that come up, but it tends to change the flow of the lesson. And I wanted the flow of the main instructional piece to be smooth and fairly short, and I wanted the students to have a lot of practice time in class. And it seemed like in the past we would work our way through a lesson, they'd take home homework problems, they'd have trouble with the homework problems, they'd come back in, we'd spend a big chunk of class time going over the old homework, squeeze in a lesson, and repeat that cycle. And I wanted to break that cycle and have them come in with an idea in their head of what the lesson was about, some questions, and do a lot of practice in class.
Especially now with this block schedule, if you don't see them for 2 days and they're practicing the wrong stuff for 2 days, it's hard to unteach that sometimes, I imagine.
And, you know, the students that are in that class tend to be fairly motivated and come in for a lot of help. And so I'd be answering a lot of questions one-on-one with the kids during my prep periods after school. I spent a lot of time giving extra assistance outside of class. And this way I get to meet with the students in class. I still have students coming in for help, but not in the quantity and the bulk of time that I used to, because I'm able to address a lot of those questions during class time now.
Or if you find yourself repeating the same instruction over and over and over again, this time you can just say, go to the video and look at that and then come back and ask
and they can go back to the video, and if they have a question that comes up during the video, they can make note of that and ask it when they get to class, or they can back up the video and repeat that section and watch it as many times as they need to.
That sounds like a great concept. So what were some of the successes you've seen so far with doing this?
I would say that this semester I'm really noticing a great improvement in grades on the assessments.
Really?
And whether it's this particular group, because I haven't done this before, or if it has something to do with the video time at home and the practice time in class, I can't really say for sure. But I do know that right now the students who are in the class are being quite successful in general. There are 2 people who are not quite as successful, but I know that they also are not the ones who access the videos quite as regularly as the others, and that's one of the downfalls.
Which was the next question.
Yes.
Do you have other downfalls?
We've had a little bit of technology interference every now and then, but for the most part, these students do have access to be able to get to YouTube, which is where I post the videos, or to my ClassJump website, where they can watch it through QuickTime. I also make the videos available on a thumb drive, so that students who might not have internet access still have access to the video itself through a school computer. Students have watched it either through school computers, home computers, their phones with their 3G networks, whatever. And a couple of times when a student hasn't watched a video, they'll come to class and ask, can I use your computer and your headphones, or can I put in my headphones and watch it through my personal device and do that.
So do you sometimes have a class situation where there are some students on a computer looking at a video while other students are doing the practice that you had intended to do, and then they just kind of rotate to... They do what they need when they need to do it.
They do what they need when they need to do it. And I would say that it's been rare that someone hasn't watched and is asked to watch it in class, but it happens. Somebody's out late, or the computer's down, or somebody else was on the computer at home and they wanted to watch it, or you know, the things that you have to juggle.
Yeah.
But they've been very responsible about it.
And of course, probably some of that may have to do with the types of kids who take a calculus class.
Absolutely.
Too. So are you thinking about trying this with any of your other classes?
I've thought about trying it with the other math class. I'm not ready to do that at this point, just time-wise for myself. And also, this was kind of a pilot because we do have 2 sections of calculus, and one group is doing this and one is not doing this.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and both groups are actually doing fairly well overall because they're, as you said, fairly motivated students, and sometimes grade-driven. But I'm finding that the students, we took a break for a section of the book that it didn't really lend itself well to doing the flipped classroom, and we were spending several days on the same topic, so I didn't need to repeat videos anyway. And when we got done with that, we went back to them. I asked a journal question of the students. I said, how do you feel seeing that there's an assignment that includes a video when we've had a break from it? And about 3/4 of them said that they were glad to come back to that. A couple of them said they didn't really care either way. And one said, yeah, I'll just have to kind of readjust to having that as part of my homework.
Nancy mentioned yesterday that it takes a tremendous amount of time to create a video that she's happy with. And particularly some of the challenges with math, when you can't just show your keyboard because you need to be scribing the symbols and all. Do you have any sort of estimate of how long it takes for you to come up with a video and if it's worth the time?
It varies, and it's decreased as I've done more because I'm no longer a perfectionist about my video. It has to be perfect. In the beginning, I kept erasing and starting over, and oh, that doesn't sound right, and it doesn't look right, and now it's like, oops, I made a little mistake, let's back up a second, and I just kind of let some of that go.
You have to. I mean,
my videos are not of me. My videos are basically I'm writing on my iPad, so I use the iPad device with Explain Everything. And my biggest problem with that is finding a stylus that will write small enough. My writing is very sloppy on the iPad with the stylus. And with the particular program I'm using, changing it over to text doesn't work well, especially with all of the math symbols. So it's sloppy, but it works. And the students have a worksheet. I make a PDF of the worksheet. I upload the PDF to Explain Everything, and I have pointers and different colored pens, and I talk. So it's got the visual of me writing out some notes and pointing to different things in the notes that are pre-typed, and students filling in things on their worksheet accordingly.
So you mentioned Explain Everything. Is that your preferred tool for creating the lessons?
It's the one I've become comfortable with. I'm sure there are several. It's an app. It was, I think, $2.99, and it had on it what I needed it to have. And because I started with that, I haven't branched out and explored a lot of other ones because it's working.
Well, mentioning apps is interesting because, as you know, the teachers in our class are getting iPads, and we as a school, I don't think, are going to be able to buy everybody every app that they want for their iPads, and so it's important to always be looking to see if there's some free ones available. And I can't remember the name of the one that we were talking about at Vermont Fest.
There's one called Show Me.
Show Me, that was the one.
It was like an interactive whiteboard.
Yeah.
And that one you can write out things, but at least when I was looking at before, I couldn't upload my pre-typed documents and then use those, and I wanted what the students had in front of them to match, and I didn't want to write everything, and that would take a long video. Another really important point, my videos that are under 10 minutes work really well. The ones that get longer, it's hard to focus that long on that kind of work. And so I had one that was 21 minutes. I'm going to redo that one and make that short.
2 smaller ones.
Yeah, so 12 minutes, I'm trying to keep it all under 12 minutes.
Right.
And sometimes I'll have things in the video that say, pause the video, go and try these problems, and then come back. And I think that's a good thing for students to do.
Nice. Nice. Can you think of any other tips you might have about actually creating the lessons? Our teachers will be having iPads available to them. And so
I think getting right to the point, the heart of what you want students to know, and then having the discussion in class, but letting them get a framework around what it is that you want them to learn and have a chance to mull it over in their brain for a day or two. It seems to be working pretty well. I do a little summary when they get to class before we jump into the practice, and that seems to work well. It sparks the memory for kids who've watched it, and if they haven't seen it yet, they at least have an idea of where we're going with the lesson and the practice.
Well, thank you very much. I know where to find you if we come up with more questions.
If anybody wants to ask me about it or see some examples, I'd be glad to share.
Well, we might ask you to actually come in and on one of the days, one of the Thursday afternoons if you're around. We're a casual group, as you know, so thanks, Teri.
I'd be glad to join you.
Awesome.